All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Investing Against the Grain. Nicholas here. I got back from the event, from the shareholder meeting. Got back later in the evening yesterday. So just waking up, just kind of grabbed a little iced coffee here. So go grab your coffee if you want to kick this morning off watching this, get set up. And I just want to go through my experience. I want to talk about my takeaways. I'll show you guys my notes. So I really want to break this up into three different segments. So first will be my initial thoughts about the pre-meeting. Then we'll go into talking about the meeting. And then I want to talk about all the different YouTubers and different people I met and my thoughts, my impressions, my reaction about them, right? Especially with these people that I've interacted with and I finally got to meet them in person, just like what was different, what I didn't expect, what I did expect, so all those kind of things. So with that said, if you guys want, feel free, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and ring that bell. This is early morning. I'm exhausted. I'm not even going to bother putting stuff here. If you just want to stick around and chat and drink some coffee with me this morning, that's cool too. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into this. So first impressions, first thoughts. And well, first of all, got some nice Tesla gear here. There we go. All right. Hard to see there. The event, pulling up to it, it was kind of crazy. I ended up getting out of my Uber and just walking to the actual event. It was a lot easier that way. But it was actually, you know what? I should make sure. Sorry, guys. This is how you know it's raw here. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure I had my mic on. But yeah, so I walked up to the event. Everybody kept saying, it's so hot in Austin, so hot and all this stuff. I don't know, maybe it's a byproduct of spending a lot of time in the Middle East, living in Florida. It just wasn't that hot to me. Was it hot? Yeah, sure, but there was like no humidity, so I barely even sweat, if I even sweat at all. So not an issue there for me. So I walk up to the event, and the thing you notice immediately, wow, are all the people, the employees, the staff, just so polite and so, I don't know if it's fake, if they were told to be overly nice or not, but it really felt like, I don't know if you've ever worked for a company where you're just really proud to work for that company, but that's what it felt like to me. It felt like all these employees were very proud, even down to the people who were just doing security or just checking bags or just, giving us our wristbands. Yeah, I still have it on. Everyone just seemed to like boast this prideful nature, and they just want to take things the extra mile with the politeness, the gestures, having a smile on their face. So I think that really resonated with myself and a lot of the people I spoke to. And that was through the whole event, right? Everything, right? From the people selling us the shares. I wish they were selling shares there at discount. Well, I guess they are now. But anyways, from the shirts to the people who were, just giving water out. It was throughout. So that was my first impression. Second impression was the factory itself from outside before I went in. You all know it's big. You all know it's massive. So I'm not telling you anything you don't know. What really strikes you though is one, it's beautiful. It is aesthetically gorgeous. It literally looks like something from Star Wars, right? I mean, it's just not what you expect. It's sexy. It's what it looks like. A cyber factory is what it looks like. Like take Cybertruck. Okay. Imagine I want to make the Cybertruck into a factory. That's what it looked like. And that's what it felt like. So that was really impressive. But just the size of it, you can't really capture it on camera, at least not at a human level height wise, and just from a close up angle, you can't really capture it. So that was pretty interesting. Again, I expected it, but it's just another thing when you're experiencing it for yourself. What else? Okay, so I walk in, and immediately right in front of us is the Cybertruck. Okay, you all know I have a Cybertruck on order. It's one of the reasons I still don't have a Tesla is because that's what I want. I enjoyed Model Y, I enjoyed Model S, X, and 3. But I want a Cybertruck. So I'd rather put my money into Tesla shares until I get my Cybertruck. So I think I'm fairly close to the top of the list. I mean, I think a lot of people probably say that. But, hopefully I get my Cybertruck next year. We'll see. Anyways, seeing it in person for the first time, it's Okay, so if you know my backstory, when they unveiled the Cybertruck, I thought it was hideous. I was not a fan of it. I thought it was ugly. Then about 6 months later, I was like, it's actually not that bad. Couple months later, I was like, okay, this thing's pretty nice. I really am happy I ordered this. I think I'm starting to really like it. And then, over the last like year or two, I love it. I think it's so sexy, right? So that was my evolution. Now, here's what I want to say. If I had just seen the Cybertruck in person rather than just online and, the show where they unveiled it and all that, in person, it is a no-brainer. It is absolutely their sexiest vehicle they have, right? I think when you see it in person, it hits you so differently. I don't even know how to say this. I was taking pictures of it. If you guys jumped onto the quick little live stream I did, I couldn't explain it. In person, it's bigger than you think. It's more aggressive yet sexy. It's just hits differently in person, and I was not expecting that. I was expecting, to see what I was expecting to see. Like, I've seen this a million times, but when you see it in person, it's like you're looking at a different vehicle in every good possible way. Now, it was definitely the first prototype they had. I could tell definitely by how some of the angles met, how the seams were, the lack of folding. So there's a lot of interesting things there. But it was just, I'm so happy that I bought I have the Cybertruck on reservation. So very excited about that. Other than that, initial impressions, just pretty awesome layout they had. They had a couple Teslas where we could sign on it. If you guys saw, I had a Investing Against the Grain. Maybe I'll try to put a picture of that up somewhere here. But yeah, it was pretty awesome. It was just a great atmosphere. Okay, so that was essentially my initial thoughts, just like the pre-meeting. Good, everybody enjoying it. We had a nice little tour. It wasn't that much, but it was just cool to see inside. We couldn't take videos or footage of it or photos of it. I guess a couple people did apparently. I don't know, not my kind of thing. They're gracious enough to invite us in to do this tour, to show us things. Just respect the rules. That's kind of my 2 cents about that. Anyways, merch, got some good merch, got some stuff for the family too. So pretty excited about that. Also going to Spain next week. So you'll probably start seeing some footage from Spain. So just a FYI out there, pretty excited for that trip. But yeah, so it was just a great overall event, just leading up to everything. Okay, so let's get into the actual meeting. So in the meeting, there's a lot going on. There's a lot said. So I want to share my screen here. Let me see if I can not screw this up. Okay, cool. Let me get to this side. Make sure that you guys can see good enough. All right. So these are my actual raw notes. I did not edit anything. This is literally what I was taking while we were there. Take a little sip there. These were my notes. So the meeting started, and obviously we went through kind of the boring stuff. We got the approval for the extra amount of shares, and then yesterday, while I was on my flight, Yashu kind of had the breaking news live stream. So shout out to Yashu for that. But Tesla went ahead and approved the 3-for-1 split August 25th, I believe it was. So looking forward to that. But we got through all the boring stuff initially, right? All of the amendments or the changes that they want to do, all the things that Tesla, voted for and against. And so we got through all that. It was honestly kind of boring. It was interesting. There's some booing. There's some chastising for the people when they were trying to make their case. I'm not here to tell anybody what to or not to do. I didn't partake in that. I was trying to keep things a little elevated, kind of try to be a little bit of a class act. But it was hard to hear them to begin with. It was just over speakers, and a lot of the people who were talking were kind of rushing because they only had 3 minutes. So fair enough. But anyways, so we got through the boring stuff, and then Elon came out on stage, and as you could imagine, the whole place just erupted. So Elon gets on stage, and you could just tell right away that he's in a good mood, and he talked about just how it's the best community, that we're awesome, meaning even you guys, right? Everybody who attended, everybody who was live streaming, just how awesome everybody is, and just how great the Tesla community is. And so then he went through kind of a lot of the same slide decks or slides that we've seen before. So I didn't really take any notes on that. I just took in the moment. I didn't take notes until we got to a slide that said the next 10 years, or the next decade. So here are some of my takeaways. So you guys have all heard and seen the YouTubers by now talk about this 100 million in 10 years. It's notable. I don't know if the numbers will really get to that. I was just doing some of my own math, and it seems like, in 10 years, 100 million, it's a pretty long shot, especially if let me rephrase that. There's obviously products that we don't know about, right? So if we look down the next line here, some products we don't know about. And this is where obviously I'm conflicted. So I hear Elon say 100 million in 10 years total fleet should be possible, right? Or it was definitely possible. And then Elon said some products we don't know about, right? So essentially he's saying like the portfolio all in, etc. He thinks we can get to 100 million. Now, I don't know what those products are. I can speculate, but I can only really come up in my head, my math with the products that I know that we have. So I take that with kind of a grain of salt, if you will. I want to see these other products unveiled. Elon's been teasing a lot about these things. I think I've said it a few times. My hypothesis is that one of these new products will be unveiled during AI Day. I think maybe they'll unveil a prototype of a robo-taxi or something of that nature. I think that's in line with AI Day, but who knows? Maybe they have another event for that. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but we need to see what these other products are to really get to that 100 million number, in my opinion. But either way, very bullish. I want Tesla, I want Elon to have these really high aspirational numbers, because even if they fall short, it still trumps essentially 2x what any other company is doing. So a lot of time spent on that, but I just want to at least give my point of view on that. He teased us about superchargers, right? Yeah, another product. He said there's an interesting, like I wrote here, interesting note about Supercharger V4 next year. He talked about there's just some really cool stuff that they're doing. The crowd was trying to pry it out of him. I mean, everybody was like, tell us, let it out, give us a hint. And it seemed like he almost did, but no, he kept it tight-lipped. So I'm kind of happy he did, to be honest, because I don't know, you want something to look forward to, right? Like, we want these little things that it just makes it more exciting rather than him telling us every little thing, right? We got plenty of stuff to be excited about right now, right? We got factories ramping, we got Cybertruck coming on, we got FSD 10.13 coming out. So there's a lot going on there. So, I think, I guess, I don't know if I took a note on this. Let's just talk about that real quick. FSD 10.13, otherwise, as Elon called it, 10.69. 10.69. And he said that, maybe it should be called that. It's going to have to earn that. So it seems like he's very optimistic about, hopefully I'm not screwing the mic up doing this. I don't know why. It's like I like playing with the mic. It's just something I do. It's like I don't know what to do with my hands, so I put it here. I move things around. Anyways, tangent. I just had a squirrel moment, didn't I? But yeah, so 10.69, his whole point was that this is supposed to be a pretty good release. It's not just a dot release, right, from his perspective. So it'll be very exciting. I can't wait for it to come out. I can't wait to go play with this version and see what happens. So very excited about that. All right, what else do I have here? Share buyback possible in the future. Essentially what he was talking about here is that there's a question that was asked about capital allocation with all the, essentially money that they just have sitting there. And Elon said, they need to make sure that they're comfortable in case there's a force majeure event. In other words, where they don't have a choice, a factory gets shut down, like what happened in Shanghai, or some other black swan event that they can't predict, right? They want to make sure that they have enough capital to deal with any kind of situation of that nature. But it does seem, based on what Elon's seen and how the numbers are coming in and the amount of cash that they're going to start putting, in the bank just quarter over quarter, year over year, he alluded to a share buyback. So a lot of people got excited about that. I, I have mixed feelings about it, especially now with this whole new what's it called, deflation, inflation bill, anti-inflation bill that the government's trying to pass, with the potential 1% tax on any share buybacks. It's like that kind of soured me a little bit on it. It's like, well, maybe there's a loophole. Maybe you just do a dividend instead. So I don't really know how I feel about that, but I think Tesla will make the right decision no matter what. I do think it's exciting that we are at a point now with Tesla where they're looking to give back to the shareholders to an extent, right? So that just shows you where this is going. The fact that they're even talking about it, the fact that Elon was even willing to entertain this. It wasn't long ago where Elon said, if we're doing dividends or share buybacks, well, then we probably, that's probably not a good thing. It probably means we've run out of ideas, and they don't foresee that happening anytime soon. But at the same time, when you start seeing this money pile up, it's like, okay, now, and I think I like to give shout outs to people who say things. So like I mentioned before about Yashu with regards to be having that live stream, Farzad has talked about this repeatedly, really hit the nail on the head with this one. But Elon has said that at this point, capital is a limiting factor when it comes to scaling or getting any of these initiatives and ideas out the gate for Tesla. The limiting factor at this point is solid, human capital, right? Bringing in people who can provide value, bringing in people that can, be an accelerant to the process, while at the same time not hiring heads just to hire heads, just to have people to do things, right? Tesla is very big about hiring efficient, qualified people, not just hiring people to get things done, right? So I think that's the whole point of like AI Day, Battery Day, Autonomous Day. Is they're all hiring or recruiting events. So I think what Tesla and Elon them are realizing is that that's the limiting factor. It's not cash. So at this point, let's maybe start thinking about giving some of that back to the shareholders. Anyways, I did think that was a bigger deal. A bigger deal. I mean, he didn't talk about it for a long time. But when you think about what that means, the fact that he's considering that, there's a lot of things in the background that have to be true for that to be of relevance. Wow, I can't speak today. This is what happens when I travel too much. I get stupid. Anyways, let's move on. Share buyback, force majeure. How many factories for 20 million vehicles? Okay. So by the way, this number, 20 million, this has gone from being a aspirational goal to now I think it was Robin was her name. The person from the board who opened up with opening remarks, she was talking about 20 million vehicles. So I thought that was a pretty big deal. I think a lot of people have walked away with that, saying, okay, it's one thing when Elon says stuff, but when Zach says something, when Drew says something, now I think her name was Robin. Apologies if I'm getting that wrong. That's a pretty big deal. So it was good to hear that. But so then the question was essentially how many factories would be needed to get to 20 million? And Elon said he thinks about 10 to 12 factories would be the number that Tesla needs to get to, with the idea of each factory doing about 1.5 to 2 million vehicles. Now, as you guys all know, we've talked about this a lot. The whole Tesla community has talked about this, about how these factories could do 1.5 to 2 million. But based on what I know, what I've seen out there, this is the first time we've ever seen Elon Musk actually say 1.5 to 2 millions per factory. So I thought that was a pretty big deal. I think that kind of went under the radar because unless I'm mistaken, I haven't heard Elon ever mention that at all. So I love that he mentioned it. It really gives confirmation to a lot of the things we've been seeing, the numbers we've been doing. And so and so if we extrapolate that out and we think about, okay, we have 4 factories right now, okay, and there's a potential 5th factory in Shanghai, right, that or a second Shanghai factory. Let's assume that's another factory. That puts us at 5, all right? And then during the meeting, which I think I put somewhere at the bottom here, but Elon said he essentially said they're going to announce another location for another factory at the end of this year. So if you take the existing four, you add in the additional Shanghai, that's 5. You add in this new one that they're going to announce, at 6. So essentially at the end of 2022, we will already have built or announced 6 out of these potential 12. Yeah, that's pretty exciting, right? Like that means we're tracking. Now, he did caveat about Fremont, right, doing about 700,000 to 800,000. He thinks that's essentially where it'll peak out, but still, being essentially halfway there to this number of 12, that's a pretty big deal, especially where we are now. We're not even, at 2025. It's not even 2030 yet, or 2025, which would be halfway to 2030. So I thought, again, it's more about the things that he said and what does that mean? What are the implications? Because for him to say he thinks he needs 12 factories to hit 20 million, well, what that implies is that we are ahead of the curve right now, right? So everybody who's out there, and we have numbers now, right? 1.5 to 2 million per factory. So everybody out there saying that Tesla needs to essentially be producing a new factory every quarter, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. So again, these are just my opinions. And again, just basic math, right? Let's say you have 12 factories, 2 million a piece, that's 24 million, right? So even if some are doing 1.5, Fremont 7, 8, okay, maybe you're at 15 million, maybe you're at 18 million. The point is nutty numbers, great profits, great mass production from Tesla. All right, so what else do I have here? Price will change for Cybertruck. So this, I know a lot of people are upset about. I am not. I'm very happy about this. Here's my point of view, all right? And I'm assuming you're all shareholders. Otherwise, why are you watching this? It's definitely not for the good looks and the aesthetics, right? So you're all shareholders. And so here's my 2 cents. I would rather pay more for a vehicle, for the Cybertruck. Let's say it's 50,000 more. I mean, who cares? Just throw a number out there. I'd rather pay $50,000 more for it one time, right? But allow Tesla to be able to collect that much more margin, revenue, profitability from each vehicle sold. Because me as a shareholder, I will benefit even more from it than saving my $50,000 if that's what they raise it by. So as an investor, I was extremely happy to hear this. This was a no-brainer to me. But it's been shocking to see people on Twitter not happy about this. Like, okay, maybe if you just bought a truck or you had a reservation, I could understand you being upset. But if you're a shareholder, bullish. 100% bullish in my opinion. Now, he didn't answer the question about FSD, about whether or not our reservation would lock in the price. But I believe when we did the order, and again, it's early, I haven't checked any of this, but I believe that FSD was committed to stay at the price that it was at when you bought it. So like, I think for me it was 8,000. But either way, who cares? Who really cares? If FSD takes off and FSD is worth 100,000, whatever, what do you care about paying $200 a month if that's what it is? Right? I mean, at that point, odds are you're a millionaire or very close to being a millionaire, if you're not already. So I don't know. It's just, sometimes I think people look at this with the wrong perspective. They think just too short term, which again, this channel is not about that. Do we look at the short term? Of course we do, because we don't want to be blind or ignorant or just ignore it. But the bigger picture is what's best for Tesla will end up being the best outcome for you and your share price. So that's how I looked at it. I was happy he said that. To me, that's a good sign. All right. I don't want them losing money on the Cybertruck just to, just because, we said this is what it would cost. Look, Elon said it on stage too. Look, you had $100 reservation, right? We're not going to sacrifice potentially thousands of dollars in margin or even take a loss because you have $100 reservation. That's silly, right? But this will be Tesla's best vehicle, is what Elon was saying. And again, seeing the prototype in person for the first time, wow, it is by far their best looking vehicle. I'm so excited about it. I really hope we get ours in 2023, but I'm sure it'll be 2024, depending on where we are in the list. All right. Wow, I spent a long time on that, but I feel strongly about it. All right, China-U.S. risk. This question came up. I don't know what people want to hear from this. All right, what do you think Elon can do? All right, yes, we all know China's a risk. Guess what? Berlin's a risk too. Guess what? Fremont's a risk. Guess what? Austin's a risk. I mean, we can game all these things out, right? Okay, yeah, Shanghai, Taiwan, all that friction. Look, all that friction, of course, is going to be a risk, right? I mean, there's nothing Elon can do about it. Berlin, hey, what happens if there's a complete shortage of energy in Germany? Oh, well, there's a risk to Berlin. Fremont, what happens if there's huge strikes or they decide to unionize or there's backlash about all these people, claiming that there's discrimination? Right, there could be a whole issue there. I mean, right now, I think there's something going on with FSD naming with the California DMV issue there that could shut down Fremont potentially. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. I think it's more hyperbole of an article than anything, but that could be a risk. Austin factory. What happens if Texas says, oh, well, you can't sell anything here, or, oh, you're using too much water? There's always risk. So there's no upside for Elon to answer this question about the risk with China and Taiwan or U.S. and geopolitical, conflicts. There is only downside from him answering this question. As an engineer, I always lead with this. What's the best possible outcome? What's the worst possible outcome? The best possible outcome for Elon answering this question is none. There's no upside. There's only downside. So if there's only downside, why even answer this question? The audience, and I'm sure you at home were all saying, skip this. All right. The audience was very aware this was a stupid question to be answering. And so he didn't. He listened to the audience was pretty adamant, yelling to skip it. I mean, I wasn't yelling it, but I was clapping, to celebrate the idea of skipping this. He did the audience think, I'm very happy he did. He skipped it and essentially just asked for peace and I think understanding or respect or something of that nature, right? He kept it very PC. I mean, he said the right thing, right? World peace. That's what we want. So happy that he skipped that. Supercharger location. A lot of people started shouting out, "Hey, we need superchargers here." Look, I think he gets it. We need superchargers everywhere. I don't think someone yelling it out is really going to help it go, him say, oh, yeah, okay, we'll do that. But at the same time, the energy that was there, like it was just, it was, you could just tell that there's so much energy that people just were in the moment. So I could understand if that was maybe annoying listening to it. But being in the room at least, because I can't tell you what the energy was watching because I wasn't watching, I was there. But the energy in the room, it was just infectious. And it was, it was nice having people from the crowd say things. It almost reminded me of like Andrew Schultz with a lot of his comedy, how he'll like interact with the crowd. That's kind of what it felt like with Elon. So I thought it was pretty cool. Rather than just a boring, mundane, stale presentation, then they leave. So I thought that was fun. 4680 high volume end of this year. I think not constraint for this year, but yes, but next year's important. So 4680 battery. It seems like they have made a breakthrough with it, with a lot of the processes. So I think that we're going to see this ramp up by the end of this year. I'm just speaking with a lot of people that were there and just getting the sense of some of the things that were being said. I think they've essentially cracked this nut more or less, and they're going to get there. It's definitely a problem that's going to get solved. All right, what else do I have here? Master Plan Part 3. Yeah, so this is interesting. Again, this is something that people were asking about. Elon pretty much just said, yeah, maybe I'll finish it this month. This wasn't like something that he had planned. It was just like something that was asked, and so he was like, yeah, I guess, I should finish it, wrap it up. Almost seemed like something he was kind of procrastinating on because he's got other important things to do. All right, inflation. So he said, interesting thing that they're seeing now that prices are trending down 6 months from now. So this is an interesting statement. So with what they do, they have to predict where inflation is going to go, right? So they have to anticipate those things. And so what he's seen with the commodity price, everything coming down, that he thinks in about 6 months is when we'll really start to see things, trend downward from a pricing perspective. Now, what was interesting was that he also thought that it will come down quickly, not slowly. He think it'll come down very fast. So this is good for a broader thought exercise when it comes to macro environments and the Fed and everything. So, take it with a grain of salt, obviously, because, like Elon said, predicting macro environments is very difficult and almost a fool's game. But Elon tends to be really good at it, as we've seen as of late. So that could be a good sign. As far as recession, Elon said, mild recession maybe for 18 months. I've said this before. We're in a recession. I think it's been since November, really. So we're in August. So call it 8, 9, 10 months roughly we're in it. So at the end of this year, maybe that'll be it. Maybe we'll essentially be out of it. But I already think, you guys know my hot take on this. I think we're coming out of recession now. I think we've essentially had the recession. I still think we're in a recession. I just think we're making our way out of it now. So we'll see what happens there. A lot of it has to do with geopolitics. A lot of it has to do with the Fed and what they're seeing. We'll see CPI information. So, but Elon thinks it'll be mild. It won't be that big of a deal, right? It'll be bad for companies that aren't doing well or aren't profitable. It'll be good for companies like a Tesla, like a Microsoft, like an Amazon, like an Apple, right? Companies that print money, who are doing well, who have demand, who people want their products, people are willing to spend it no matter what. Those companies, I think, will be fine. I think we've seen the worst behind us, assuming no other geopolitics kicks in with regard to like world powers or conflicts. But that's just my perspective. All right. Tesla model with autonomous mix of Airbnb and Uber. So I thought this was also very telling on how Elon sees this idea of full self-driving. And there's been speculation out there regarding whether Tesla would just stop selling cars, because if we have all these autonomous vehicles out there, they can make more money by having a fleet. This shows that Elon doesn't see, or that's not his take on it, at least probably for the next decade plus. He sees it as a Airbnb and Uber model where some people will own their vehicle, some people will own their vehicle and they'll put it out into the fleet. Other people, or there'll be other services that are just an Uber. So it'll be kind of this hybrid approach. So I definitely agree with that. I don't see people not wanting to own their vehicles anymore. It's not always about the price. Sometimes we want our own things. We want to be able to leave our our possessions in the vehicle. We want to have there when we're ready. Maybe we do certain fancy things to our vehicle because it's ours, certain personalizations. So I think people are still going to have a car. Whether or not they have to drive, people still want to possess their own. Who knows, maybe it's seen as an asset in the future. Tesla will probably be the most valuable company in the world. He said that again. It's not his first time saying it. I agree. I'm just reading my notes off of this. I forget if he had any stipulations for this, but I think Tesla can be the most valuable. I think they will be the most valuable company in the world in the next couple of years, 2024, 2025. I guess it depends on how well Apple and everybody else does, but I don't think it's that far from happening soon. I don't think you need FSD. I don't think you need the bot. I think just on the back of volume vehicles with high margins, they can do this. I think it's very feasible. The numbers don't lie on this. So what else? Somebody asked about the rollout and how they would roll out a network or FSD. And there's been a lot of speculation about this. Like, would you start off with geofencing it in a certain city and just pilot it out, see how it's doing? And Elon kind of crapped on this idea. He pretty much said, like, no, this is a general solution to be able to work everywhere. And really, you can tell by my typo here. What does this even say? This says Regan liketing. So what I was trying to write here is to say that the only real limiting factor would be regulatory approvals, right? So regulatory limiting would be the only thing that would really hold Tesla from just going wide with the FSD, right? So no geofencing, no city by city, no starting off with one state. It's really just going to be based on regulatory limitations on where it's active or not active. That's about it. He's talked about, I already said this, maybe announcing a new location for another factory this year. And then Elon said, so he started off by saying this, or maybe he didn't start. At some point he said this. And I thought this was very telling. And, I think you should all take this with a massive level of respect. The greatest entrepreneur in the world, arguably the greatest investor in the world because he's invested in himself and look at where he's at, is saying that investors understand Tesla immensely better than analysts do. That's a big deal. You should see that as a big compliment, right? That's a very, very big compliment. And sure, you might say, okay, he's just saying this because he owns the company. Hey, look at your bank account. Look at your brokerage account. It's true. It's a fact, right? I just got done watching a video with Gordon Johnson. He still doesn't understand it. All right. Slight tangent. This won't take long, I promise. A fundamental issue with everybody's understanding of Tesla is that they always seem to say, oh, these companies are selling X amount of vehicles and Tesla's only doing this amount of vehicles. It's not about how many vehicles you sell. It's about how much profitability you have from each vehicle you sell. All right. Tesla essentially sold 5x less vehicles than Ford or GM. I think 10x less if you look at it as a whole. But with that said, Tesla is essentially printing more money or the same amount of money as Ford and GM combined on a per quarter basis now, right? And it's going to exceed that probably this next quarter. So I just think it's a bad way of looking at it, all right? So the fact that all these other analysts still don't seem to get that, but all of you get it, I think that speaks volumes. All right, so those were essentially my big takeaways. I don't think there's too much new here. We did get some really nice, validation with the 20 million, how many factories, what the numbers should be or he foresees for factories, factory output. I thought that was pretty great to know. It's great to add into our equations, our formulas, our spreadsheets. Oops, sorry, I just shook everything. Master Plan Part 3, good to know there. His thoughts on recession, the general economy, that was good. How FSD will roll out, a lot of good stuff there, right? Cybertruck, that was good. I'm happy to hear about that. Overall, I thought it was just very good. And probably most importantly was his mood, his attitude, all right? I thought it was very good to see him in a good mood. And I don't know if you guys caught the Full Send podcast. Check it out. I loved it. I thought it was great. It was nice to see Elon just, kind of hanging out with some people, just clowning around, just making jokes, talking about different things. I get pretty critical with interviews with Elon when we're talking about Tesla, or I get very critical when people are trying to analyze the company itself. But that's not what this was. This was an interview about just, hanging out with Elon, just talking and seeing where the conversation goes. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What about Ghost? What about God? What about, just random things? And so I thought it was really, really well done. I'm happy that I'm jealous, but I'm happy for the Full Send team. They definitely had a good interview, even if I felt like some of the questions they asked were coming from a lack of knowledge. But kudos for them. Okay, so let me go ahead and take this off. All right, cool. Now we're back into focus here. I want to talk about a couple other things. All right, well, one last thing, really. I want to talk about all the people I met. First of all, shout out to all of the people who I met, who came up, who approached me. It was honestly weird, humbling, but awesome to meet all of you. It was cool to get recognized. Very strange thing. Even my fiance somehow got recognized, I guess, from some of our YouTube shorts. So that was pretty awesome. It was just great to hang out with all of you. So thank you so much for the love and the support. It really means a lot. As you guys all know, I don't do any of this YouTube stuff for monetary reasons or anything. Is it nice? Sure, it's not bad. But I really do it just for the art of it. It's a lot of fun, and the real impetus when I started this channel off was for my future kids, so that one day they could see, oh, what did Dad do? How what was he thinking back then? What were some financial decisions he made? And good or bad, and so that they could either take what I did and just say, don't make those mistakes again, or they could take what I did and iterate on it. So that was really the whole impetus behind even starting this channel. So it was really good to meet all of you, and just have an experience like that I had never experienced before. Oh, this is Jax, by the way. This is my current son. But yeah. So anyways. So I want to talk about some of the YouTubers I met. Who's the first one I met? So the first person I saw and recognized was Omar from Homar's catalog and Warren Redlick. We were actually all on the same bus. I got to say hi to Omar briefly, so that was pretty cool. And then Warren Redlick and we had a conversation. I grew up in Satellite Beach, and he's considering moving to the Cape Canaveral, the Space Coast, right? It's all the Space Coast there. And so we were just talking about that for a little bit. Really nice. Warren was my height. I'm 5'11", 6 foot. For some reason, I thought Warren would be like 6'5", so I don't know why I had that impression. So that was weird just to see him eye level. I just kind of thought I'd be like that. He's also, so on a lot of his videos, right? Like he's kind of aggressive, very lawyer-like, just cutting people at the knees with things he says. He's very direct. I'll tell you what, in person, he was more of a sweetheart than anything. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting him to come off, I guess, like a lawyer, but that wasn't the case. I mean, he came off just as like a very sweet individual. So that was just that was just kind of just not what I expected, right? So that was pretty cool. Appreciate talking to him. Who else? Then I ran into I saw Dr. Know-It-All. He sat, I think, 2 rows in front. He was in the second row, I think, and I was in the 4th row. So I got to see him. I went up, said hi to him. We spoke briefly. We've talked a little bit over Slack, over Twitter. Talked about him coming on the channel one of these days. Just haven't really had time to sync up with him, but it was pretty cool. He pretty much looked exactly like what you would expect. Chuck Cook, I met Chuck Cook. He was definitely excited. It was good to see him. Chuck's turn got called out. Apparently, Elon said that it's 90% success rate so far, so they're getting there. So that I cannot wait to see him retest that one. So that was awesome to see him. Kim Parquette, again, we talked for briefly. Seemed like a pretty nice individual. She sounded exactly what I expected. Same with Chuck Cook. So that was cool. Who else? Okay, so the biggest one I guess you could talk about was Rob Maurer. Rob Maurer and I sat next to each other during the whole event. Rob walked in, and you would have thought it was Elon walking in, but we talked for a little bit. It was good to meet Rob and just be able to talk a little bit with him during the meeting, kind of joke around about the crowd or the questions being asked or what Elon was saying. It was cool. I mean, he's what you expect, just a really down to earth guy. What you don't expect is how tall Rob is. I mean, the height I thought Warren Redlick was gonna have, Rob has it. Rob is a tall individual. He must be like 6'3", 6'4", I think. But that was definitely more than I was expecting. Who else did I meet? I met the Tesla Club Silicon Valley. No, the Austin Tesla Club owner. I'm horrible with names. Let me see. I have his name here. We texted a little bit. Oh yeah, Honorabek. I believe that's how you say it. I got to meet him. Here, check this out. This was I'll put it sideways so you guys can see it. So that was a picture of us, and then that lady in the middle. Again, I'm sorry, I'm really bad at names, but her name is Amy. Yeah, Amy. Sweetheart of a lady. We also sat next to each other during the meeting. Oh, I guess I could just throw this up here real quick, just because I mentioned it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. So, but yeah, no, just absolutely like really sweet people, talking the whole time. Yeah, here we go. This is Rob and I sitting next to each other, and then you can see there's another gentleman to my left. I met him as well. Also another big Tesla shareholder. He's from Jersey, I think, lives in New York. Just lots of great people I met during this entire event. So just beyond happy that I met everybody. It was a great experience. And probably the best moment for me during this entire event was the post event, was talking and meeting everybody there. And more importantly, meeting, the man, the myth, the legend, Farzad. I got to meet him in person finally. We talked a lot, met his beautiful, sweet wife. Her and my wife, they hit it off right away. They had a great time. Farzad and I mean, we spoke for quite some time, but definitely a good friendship that's going to happen there. I can tell. I plan on going back to Austin, I think in October, so we'll be meeting up again. Just very, I don't know. It was one of those trips that I don't think could have gone any better. It was just kind of crazy how everything mapped out. So just beyond fortunate with everything. So happy to be in this position. So grateful that I was invited and I was able to get there, and my schedule aligned with everything. So it was a great experience. For all of you who didn't get to go, hopefully next year they open up to a wider audience. They can get more seating. Hopefully they figure something out so that we can get more people there, because it's definitely an experience. It was definitely just to be there, right? And just all these people you see always through a screen, or you hear or you see them on TV. It was, I don't know, it made the whole thing more human. And I walked away feeling more confident than I ever have on the mission, on the execution, and the people behind the business, right? The talent, the force, and the focus that they have is just, it's very, very clear, and I could not be happier. All right. Well, I've probably gone on way longer. For any of you who stuck around to the end, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys hanging out here with me today. Hopefully you guys have a good Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. Go ahead, spend it with your family as much as you can. Try to stay off the screens. I know I'm going to try to. I'm not good at it, but I'll do my best. All right. We're going to leave it there. I'm going to go try to get a workout in. I love you all. Thanks for watching again. Peace.